I tell you, I've always found anger funny, in that certainly when I was a kid, if I watched shows like The Young Ones or Monty Python, there seemed to be an amused anger that was driving them, that seemed to be the energy behind them. And I always found that sort of thing hilarious. There's a great scene in one of the episodes of The Young Ones where Vivian starts ranting about the good life and starts physically ripping the screen apart, which sort of combined two of my favourite things in that it was a rant, it was a sort of funny rant, and it was completely breaking the fourth wall because he was sort of literally tearing the screen
Does that
to
have a
pieces.
massive effect on you? That
Sorry?
that part of The Young Ones? Because, I mean, personally...
Yeah, I remember finding that really exciting to watch, as well as very funny. I remember anything like that. Like my dad would sort of make me watch repeats of Monty Python and things like that were on, and not the 9 o'clock news when that was on when I was a kid.
So the TV that you were watching when you were younger was TV that referenced TV? You were into Kenny Everett?
Kenny Everett I used to really enjoy, yes.
Victor Lewis Smith?
Victor Lewis Smith stuff, yeah, I mean, well, I'm a sort of, yeah, he's kind of like a rich man's me, isn't he, Victor Lewis Smith, in a lot of ways. Victor Lewis Smith stuff, well, I mean, when I was young, it would have been things like Kenny Everett. There was a show on that was called End of Part 1, I think, which was a sketch show about television programmes that was on ITV, I think, years and years ago, that was, I think, written by Marshall and Rennick, one of the guys one of them went on to do One Foot in the Grave. But it was all sketches about TV shows. And one episode I remember very clearly watching, and it just started with the London Weekend Television animated logo. You know, that thing that would go ding, 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 da, 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 da. And it just did that about 15 times in a row for no reason. And I remember finding that the most exciting thing. It was like someone had broken into the TV set and played with the...
So is this where your special relationship with television comes in? Because it's almost as if you see it as like a saviour and a escape method, an educator, a friend. Did you have one in your room at that point?
Sorry?
Did you have a TV in your room?
No, I didn't. I mean, when I was very young, I guess because where I grew up, I mean, it wasn't a particularly fancy existence I had in any way. I mean, we did, you know, there wasn't much to do really when you were a kid. You're in a small village, and so the TV was a kind of magical portal, I think, when I was young. And so I just found the mechanics of it fascinating. I just loved things like, I don't know what, I used to love the logos that would come. I don't like it now that channels all have these stupid little films instead of, what's wrong with a logo in the middle of the screen spinning around? Why do we have to watch some fucking hippos?
Who's the worst channel?
It's all like, you know, some people fucking
What's
doing feng shui or whatever it is. Sorry?
What's the worst channel for doing that?
They're all the same. They've all got quirky little fucking films with people doing Tai Chi in a field or something, or...
Well, so you liked it when it was kind of like an orange tube, like, you know, like or an orange or
the
brown.
orange tube, or
beautiful.
like TVS or Southern or that. What's wrong with that? And you know, it was just a logo that would talk to you, basically. That's what I used to like. I don't like all this cuddly, wuddly stuff. It's like all the idents for channels now, like the film they show to an old man near the end of Soylent Green, just as he's about to be killed, to make him feel slightly better about the dystopian world he's living in. I don't like. I'm getting quite angry.
You're quite angry.
It's the worst thing to happen to television in years. Those stupid fucking idents. They're all the same. I mean, they're meant to... Anyway.
When you were 15, you started submitting cartoons to Oink.
Oink comic, yes, which was...
Other contributors, Frank Sidebottom, Mark Riley. You sent them a cartoon to the letters page. You were invited to do your own strip.
Yeah.
You must have been pretty talented.
No, because I was not a very good cartoonist.
But you love animation now. You still love it, don't you?
Oh yeah, no, I love anime. I wish I'd sort of kept it up because I couldn't. I just wasn't talented enough as an artist, and I hated doing the speech.
What did you send to Oink?
Oink was basically it was like a children's version of Viz. Effectively, it was a sort of unofficial kids version of Viz. I guess you'd say.
You went on to be rejected by Viz, didn't you?
Yeah, that was a painful moment. I sent some cartoons to them, and they sent them back saying, "Sorry, smells of bacon," because I'd done some stuff for Oink.
Did you take it well?
No, because that was obviously their harmless joke, but I took it as a grievous insult, and I wrote a letter back saying, like having a real arse at them, having a moan, and then I was too embarrassed for years afterwards to ever send something to them again. I tried sending cartoons to Private Eye and things like that, and they were always rejected. And then I started, because Oink folded, and then when I was a student, I started doing stuff for sort of bad Viz rip-off magazines. I did sort of, you get those things called sort of Spot and Sick, and all those things that in the 90s were clogging up all the shelves.
I've got this we'll talk about the 90s. I've got this theory that in the 90s you were a bit of a slacker.
Yeah.
And
directionless.
I always think that but you are a bit of a good news story for people that are sitting here that maybe are feeling quite directionless. Can I read you some quotes out that I've heard you say about the 90s?
Yeah.
Well, one of them is, I spent my 20s working in shops writing game reviews through a haze of spliff smoke.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
I once put my TV on its side so I could watch it lying down without getting out of bed.
Yeah. That was after a bad breakup. And I have to say, why don't televisions have a mode that you can just push that flips the picture sideways when you're lying on the sofa?
How long
why
did
don't
you
they
stay
do that?
there for?
Sorry?
How long did you stay there for?
Oh, 72 hours? No, I don't know. Probably, I'm sure I didn't defecate. So, however long I don't know, biologically, however long it takes before you have to defecate. How long is that?
I don't defecate.
However long that was, that will have been how long I stayed there.
So you did a media degree?
I did a media studies degree at what was the Polytechnic of Central London when I started, and failed. I didn't like the media theory side of things. I didn't sort of get it. I just sort of didn't see the point in it, and I probably am too simple to follow it. And I was mainly interested in the theory side of things, because the practical side of things, where there was a TV studio there and we got to. For a project, I wrote a sitcom, and we sort of made a sitcom, and the practical side of things I found fascinating.
So you did that part?
I did that part, and I really slacked off. I couldn't even tell you. I can't really remember the whole of the other side of it.
What grade did you get?
Well, I didn't pass at all. I mean, I didn't.
Why not?
Because I wrote a dissertation, and without checking with anyone, I wrote it on video games. And you're talking about the Sega Mega Drive years. I'm sure you're big on that, yeah? Sonic the Hedgehog, Road Rash, and things like that. And I didn't check with anyone that was a suitable subject to write a dissertation on, and they rejected it out of hand. And I had 7 years to write a follow-up, and then I would have got my degree. But by then I just didn't. But I couldn't see the point.
Do you regret that?
No. Well, I mean, yes, I did. Yes, I regret the fact that I spent 3 years there and then didn't walk out of there with a degree. But I don't regret not writing a follow-up dissertation, because that would have been a waste of time. I don't know how it would have impacted on my life in any. Maybe if I'd passed, I wouldn't have been so directionless in the 90s. I don't know, but I think that came through because I didn't really know. I sort of knew vaguely what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be doing funny things, and I wanted to write scripted things. I mean, like being a presenter or something like that, or fronting things wasn't really on my radar.
There's this temptation to see you as that suddenly you became this kind of amazing success and this entrepreneur, and you were right in the dead centre of the media and you knew everybody, but you spent an awful long time as a complete outsider during your 20s.
I suppose I suppose I lacked a lot of confidence. I always think, I didn't go to public school, which I think always gives you a sense of, that people think, rightly or wrongly, I think it gives people a sense of that they belong, or that the world is theirs to just play with in some way, which I didn't have that sense. And because I didn't go the Oxbridge route, I think maybe if I'd done that, I'd have, I don't know, bumped into a fucking comedy troupe or something like that, do you know what I mean? And started doing things earlier. But I didn't do any of those things, so I didn't know. I had no clue quite how to get into what I wanted to do.